Hello, 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 everyone. Let me see if I've got the right camera on. I do. It actually picked it up without me turning all that stuff on. So I've got my iPhone over here tied into my computer over there, you know, 'cause I'm trying to get away from the reflection that's over here. If I look straight into this thing, you get reflections all across my eyes and everything's like that. So, hey, my name is Cassandra Williamson. If you don't know that already, I'm the executive director for TDVA Action Group, the Transgender Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, as well as for the C3 side. However, this show is principally the action group side. Most of what I talk about here has to do with activism and trying to keep us all alive in this country of ours, for which we have served. Most of us have served in some capacity. Some are serving in other ways. For instance, we have people who work in the VA who help us, who actually are part of this group as well. And I'm very thankful for them. I mean, it's an honor to work with them. Even though they didn't serve in the military and put on a uniform of the military of the United States of America, they're still serving the heroes of America, all of them. And I'm very, very proud about that, very happy about that. I'm so glad to know so many of these people and call them friends. How about you? Do you have friends like that? Well, today's show, I kind of want to focus a little bit on the hope that we have. I mean, we have hope in all of this. There's a lot of negativity out here. There's a lot of somber and dangerous things taking place around us. And a lot of people want to see us just shoved out of the public square and all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, they really don't want us around. It's not just the transgender people, but also the entire LGBTQ plus population of Americans. They don't even think we're worthy of protections under the Constitution. But not just us. They also think that all those words that define minorities like diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DE&I stuff, and the programs that support that and help them find a place where they can feel like they at least don't have to fight all the time. Well, they don't want those words around. They don't want any of that stuff around at all. I mean, these people are really serious about erasing every minority in the country. And by saying that they also aren't protected by the U.S. Constitution. That's a load of horseshit. Can I just say that out loud? Now, I've got to say it out loud. So in other news, well, there is hope and the way that hope is found, the way we find that hope and the way we actually build that hope and build upon it, we do it one person at a time, one organization at a time, 2 or 3 organizations getting together and deciding that we have to do something. We can't sit here and just, stick our head in the sand and pretend it'll go away. This will not go away. But the hope we have is in our joint efforts to stop it. If we can put a national spotlight on the atrociousness, the horribleness that's contained within this document, the Project 2025 document I've been focused on forever and ever. If we can focus a spotlight on that and make it a consistent spotlight, we can show America that this Project 2025, violates every principle of what the American ideal is all about. It really does. I mean, whenever you say that you want to delete a bunch of terms that identify some of these Americans and that they are a threat to your First Amendment rights, really? Really? Oh my gosh. I mean, I just find that to be horrible. Just terrible. Really terrible, terrible, and terrible. It's disgusting. And I'm also on a couple other pages where I'm chatting with a bunch of people and they're trying to pin down certain things, and try to get me to fall into this quicksand pit of what they consider to be rational thinking. But it's very juvenile. Or sophomoric is more like it. Not juvenile, but sophomoric. Sophomoric is probably, in its simplest terms, what they're looking for are just a 1 or 2 word definition of certain things. And I refuse to do that because the complexity of the words they're asking to define are far greater than that. But if you try to distill it down into 1 or 2 terms for them, what you're doing is you're playing into their game because that's what they want. Here's the question that was posed to me. What is gender? This has been going on since yesterday. Okay, on Christopher Rufo's I don't know, Substack channel, and he had posted something on there about the image of the transgender empire or something like that, in the image of, or not, well, and something along those lines, whatever the title is. I'll show you in a second. But anyway, it's like he posted that out there. I follow those kind of things. I know what's going on. I try to stay aware of them. I've got other people who tell me what's happening as well, so that I'll have some cannon fodder to use against them, against these assaults on our personhood and on our lives. And I mean, they're really serious about going after us, people. What the heck is up with that? Why are we such an offense to you? I don't get it. I mean, what did I ever do to you? Well, it doesn't matter what I did, because now you've lumped us all into this totally dehumanized group of people that you can now say that you would like to get them jailed, thrown out of the country, they don't fall under the protections of the First Amendment. They don't have personhood as much as a corporation does. That's exactly what they're saying. But there is hope, folks. That hope is found in our unity. That hope is found in us putting aside our differences, which there are many, and then coming together and saying, we will not stand for this. This is not right. Now, I'll be the one calling us out if any of our people start saying that it's un-American for what they're doing, or if these are not Americans, or these are Americans writing this. These are just as much an American as anyone else, all of us. I mean, they were either born here or they were naturalized here, and as Americans. So regardless of their ideology, whether that be like, I'm talking about real ideologies. I'm not an ideology. I don't know about you, but I'm not an ideology. Things like conservatism, republicanism, liberalism, all those things out there that are actual thought processes, ways of living your life, but they don't define you. They just define the way you like to live your life. Well, we're not an ideology in the transgender community, the transgender population in this country, America. We're not an ideology. I mean, we are represented in every ideology that's out there. I mean, people in our community hold all kinds of ideologies as their own. Nativism, or conservatism, or republicanism, or independence, or Democrats, or liberals, or Tories, or Whigs. We've got all kinds of ideologies represented in the transgender population in America. But being trans is not one of those ideologies. And that's what they do in Project 2025. It depersonalizes this group of people. And all of us who have served in the military know what happens and how easy it is to carry out lethal actions against a group of people. And when you can not know their name, but call them this lump, this distorted image of them. When you can do that, when you can use a word or words to describe the whole of the people, but not individuals in that, so that you don't have to feel guilty about taking any kind of lethal action against them. That's what's going on. It really is. I mean, it's just goofball crazy. But here we have a well-funded organization with lots of money throwing it out there to go after us. But let me just back off of that for just a little bit, because there have been a couple of things that have been happening over the weekend. And this past weekend, from Saturday morning on, I think it was, or maybe it was last weekend. I forget now. It's probably last weekend. Not this past one, but the one before. We had the terrorist organization Hamas go after Israel, kind of go in there and kill well over 1,000 people, slaughtered them, civilians, babies, families. Just because, and why? Why? Well, because, their ideology is different than ours, and if this terrorist organization is part of their ethos, okay, this is not something that is a response to oppression. They want you to think that it is. For some of you who are protesting against Israel for firing back and saying that Israel is oppressing Palestinians? Well, the Palestinian people and the terrorist organization Hamas are different groups, are different. Yeah, some of the Palestinians may be Hamas terrorists. However, you can be one without the other. Both directions. Both directions on that one. So for people to go around saying that, you're opposed to the oppression that the Palestinians feel, that's fine, but don't associate what happens, what the terrorist organization Hamas is doing or has done to Israel by going in and slaughtering innocent people. I mean, that in and of itself is just absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. And Israel has every right to go in there and respond in kind to that, to protect their borders and protect their people, to put it into Hamas. They have every right to do that because Hamas is a threat to them. But I'm going to say the reason I brought up that this is not that Hamas is not reacting to the oppression the Palestinians feel, and that they want the Palestinians and the world to believe that that's really what it's all about, when in fact that is not it. No, the hatred that many extremists within the Muslim faith actually, this is generational. It's thousands of years old. They've been told they get brownie points if they can remove Israel from the face of the earth and destroy all the Jewish people. I mean, that's what they've been told, the extremists, and they've carried that down through generations. Hamas is a result of all of that, okay? It's not going to go away easily either, because you're going to have this continued generationally after another, because the hatred for the Jewish people has been ingrained in them for so long that they blame all of their ills, all of the things that ail them as people, on the fact that Israel exists, and they haven't erased them yet. But they're a terrorist organization. They don't represent all of Islam. They don't represent all of the Palestinian people either. And they certainly aren't doing what they do because Palestinians are oppressed. No, no, that's just an easy out for them. They've always hated Israel. They've always hated the Hebrew people, the Jewish people. Always. I mean, this goes back thousands of years. I mean, this is not something that just happened since 1947 with the creation of Israel. No, it is not. And if you think it is, well, there's just look at it and see. You'll see really quickly that the hatred that has been in these extremist groups, even in America, by the way, the people in America who hate Jewish people too, the anti-Semites in this country, where does that hatred come from? They've been taught this and taught this and taught this. They pass it down through the family or whatever, or they homeschool them into it. That's really what it is. I mean, it's just like that family out somewhere in the middle of the United States that was upset because there were not enough Nazi training that they wanted to introduce their children to. Real story, true story. Really, what the hell? How can, to me, it still baffles me that one group of human beings can hate another group of human beings so badly that for generation after generation, they want to destroy the other. And that's what's happening over here. These over in Israel with the Jewish people and the Muslims and stuff over there, those people right there, this is like a sibling rivalry that's been going on for thousands of years. And it is hubris on our part to think that we will go over there and it'll just stop because we say so. That hatred is going to stick around. It's a generational curse. The only way you're going to change that is consistent and persistent, showing them otherwise and giving them another way to think, so much so that they get out of that kind of thinking. But it will take a generation or two or three to do it. You really have to think that far out. But right now, this whole thing going on over there in Israel, it is not to target Palestinian people. It is to destroy Hamas as a terrorist organization whose goal, stated in their charter, is the removal and destruction of Israel. Why? Well, They get some kind of brownie points with their God if they do that. That's what it amounts to. And that's what they've been told. And that's what they believe. And they believe it fervently. Because how else can you get to the point where you can go kill babies, innocent people, just because they are Jewish? I can't fathom that kind of hatred for another people. But it's a real thing. It's a real problem. It's even here in the United States, as I said a minute ago. There are people like that right here in the United States. There are people here in the United States who are attempting to dehumanize another group of Americans. That dehumanization, that taking away of personhood and making them as a less than group, I mean, that's the tactic. You do that long enough, you'll get people who actually want to physically destroy another group of people simply because, that's what they've heard, that kind of hatred for this other group of people. They've been taught that for, several hundred years or so. And, and now you're at the point where, well, we're just going to hunt them down and kill them. That's what happens when you dehumanize people. That way you can lump them in one big group and you can go, it makes it more palatable to be able to go in and say, we just want to erase and delete and excise that whole group of people right there from the entire lexicon of the nation. Remove them. And if you think I'm making that up, you're full of shit. It's in Project 2025. Go take a look at it. Go read it. Project2025.org. And if you think that we can just ignore that and nothing's going to happen of it, it'll go away, that kind of thinking has got us to this point now. It's time to change your thinking, because this is one of the most well-funded, well-thought-out mandates for leadership, a playbook to remove minorities and minority identities from the whole of the federal government. And that's no joke, folks. It's right there in writing. Matt Walsh is at least self-aware enough to know who he actually is. He calls himself a theocratic fascist. It's not me saying that of him. That's him saying that of himself. That's his profile on Twitter. Go check it out. Just go look at Matt Walsh. Look up Matt Walsh on Twitter. Theocratic fascist. He's of the same mold and all this kind of stuff. He's of the same pattern as everyone else over here trying to impose their theocratic views upon the rest of the nation. They match every characteristic that defines fascism. 14 of them, written in 2003 by Lawrence Britt. Go look it up. But the others don't have the kahunas to actually say really who they are, because, that might cause a little bit of a disconnect with the rest of the population. People are saying, you're not this, you're not that, you're not this, or you're anti-fascist, or Antifa, which is anti-fascist. But the real anti-fascists were those who were standing up over there in World War II, pushing down and fighting against Hitler and Mussolini and all that. Those were the real anti-fascists, the ones that we have put an enormous amount of respect toward. Those are the real anti-fascists. But I'm going to tell you, what Heritage Foundation is doing falls under the rubric that defines theocratic fascism that Matt Walsh claims as his own, because he's self-aware enough to know that's actually what it is. So he's not going to run and hide from it. Everybody else will, though, because they're afraid of what it will do to their image in the rest of the country. I mean, really. I mean, who wants to be called a fascist, right? Really? Okay. So anyway, this has been an interesting couple of weekends, I should say, because obviously what's happening in Israel is extremely important. I don't think it was last weekend, really. I think it might have been this one. I don't know. I'm losing track of time, y'all. I don't know what's happened. I flew down to Orlando, or Fort Lauderdale, Saturday evening. And I get into the hotel room, and then Sunday morning I get up, and we have a really good, amazing time with American Veterans for Equal Rights, AVER, or AVER, whichever your pronunciation is, however you want to define that. Another group of hard fighters. They've been out here fighting for equal rights since 1990. In other words, they're like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old, like the media wants to portray all of us. AVER's been doing this since 1990, and they haven't put themselves out in the limelight very much. But in conjunction with us and with Sparta, limited Sparta, because they can't, as an active duty group, do a whole lot. But Sparta turns to us, AVER and TDVA, the group that I'm in, and TAVA, the previous group I was in, and MVA, the Minority Veterans America, and MMAA, all these organizations that are out here fighting for veterans and people who have served their nation, who are in the LGBT plus community, all those organizations. That's who Sparta turns to and says, hey, take this. We need to fight this area over here. But it's good because I got to meet some really amazing people down in Fort Lauderdale. And I'll show you some of the pictures here in a minute. I was going to put it into like a little video clip or a clip of some kind. I have not done that yet. So I'll just have to scroll through one at a time to show you. But there's been some big changes taking place in AVER. They had elections while we were down there. I'm not a member of AVER, and Emily Schilling, I don't think, is either, with the president of Sparta. But we're connected with them. We're in a similar fight for our lives together. AVER understands that by the rest of the world, or rest of this nation, going after everything transgender, trying to shut it down and get it out of the public sphere and away from the lexicon of the nation, then what happens? We have to push back. The three of us had a good opportunity and good time, and actually did some thinking about how we should proceed forward. There's a lot more to do in that regard, but we have got to start that process, and we did while we were down there in Fort Lauderdale, right on the beach, actually. Well, the beach, then a boulevard, then the hotel. But it was really a phenomenal time. They installed a new president, Penn Baker from New Mexico. And so we had conversations. I got to speak about what the VA is doing regarding gender affirming care and surgeries. That's a big thing. Basically, I can just sum it up really quickly. No movement has taken place for quite some time now. It's been that whole policy change process has kind of stalled. Is sitting on the secretary's desk at this point. There's a lot of political calculations that have to take place to move that thing forward. I get it. I understand. I really do. But there's still a lot of veterans out here who are going, they promised over 2 years ago to do this, and no action has been taken. They're beginning to distrust even more so, the VA. But the VA has been really good about a lot of things, and their satisfaction rate, surprisingly, is really high. What is it, about 70 or 85%, 70 to about 75 to 85%, something like that, of their veterans are satisfied with the service and care that they receive through the VA. And that's numbers that I've seen, that we have looked at and created the surveys to find out about, as well as internal surveys of quality of care and those kind of things. So veterans are getting good care, but there's still that 15 to 20% who aren't getting the best of care, at least feel that they are not getting treated well. A lot of things to improve upon, but the VA is working hard. They really are. There's a lot of programs that they're doing. They're putting themselves out there. You've got the Center for Minority Veterans out there in the VA doing wonderful things. The women veterans clinics and centers doing a lot of big things, good things, working hard to make sure that their veterans are taken care of appropriately and respectfully. We've got the LGBT office in the VA that is actually doing wonderful and amazing things too for the veteran population who are LGBT and other minority populations, including our indigenous populations who happen to be veterans. And got some amazing friends working in all of those areas across the whole of the VA. So I'm really, really, really honored to know a lot of really amazing and beautiful people. So I'm very proud of all of them. And that's where we find all of our energy and all of our hope too, is that we know that there's a lot of good people out there. But the thing that I always go back to is that with Project 2025, if Kevin Roberts, the president of Heritage Foundation and of Heritage Action, if he is able to accomplish at the minimum 60% of what is in this document, it's going to be horrendous. Because which 60% are they going after? The very first things they attack are transgender people. Well, actually, the very first thing that he wants to erase, his words, look at it yourself. The very first groups of people he wants to erase from the whole of government, any kind of identifiers that associate, that help us understand who they are. He wants to remove these words: sexual orientation and gender identity. Those are the first 4 words he wants removed and erased. All of the LGBTQ plus references and labels used to describe us, all those things, he wants them erased because, these hypersensitive, really extreme people out there think that our very existence and the use of those words is such a threat to them that it violates their First Amendment rights. Thus, they're saying that their First Amendment rights are more important than everyone else's because, they take offense at even having to look and read that word on a piece of paper or on the screen, on the monitor of your screen. So with those 4 words, sexual orientation and gender identity being the first words Dr. Roberts wishes to erase, and the second one being gender, geez, come on, people. We've got to put a spotlight on how atrocious that is, how horrible that is for one American to say that to another American. We're not going to use these words to describe you because we take offense at the very word. We don't even want to see it in a rule or a policy or in a grant application. We don't want to see it in any agency or department across the whole of the federal enterprise. And they're seeking to do that. And this whole narrative structure that they create in Project 2025, this whole strategic plan, it's there, folks. It's there. It is being implemented. It is being carried out. They're acting upon this thing. They're putting their mouth where their money is, or their money where their mouth is, whichever way you want to say that, but they're putting their money where their mouth is. And they're actually doing it. That's why you have all of these attorneys general around the country going after trans health care for adults. We knew they would do that. How many of you didn't see that coming? How many of you honestly did not know or did not believe that when they were talking about protecting those pre-K and through 3rd grade people from the influences of being around a transgender person in their class? How many of you knew that was going to stop right there? You're some kind of stupid if you did. I'm just telling it like it is. I'm so sorry to say it out loud for you, but you are some kind of stupid to think that was the case. It was the next year after that first one went through that, they bumped it up to 12th grade. And it was shortly after that they decided, well, we don't want any kind of medical care that we have to put any kind of funding toward to cover gender affirming care for anyone, especially if they're on Medicaid. covering adults. I mean, it didn't take them, 3 years? And if you didn't see that one coming, you don't even have to be Nostradamus to figure that one out. You don't even have to be in your prayer closet 10 seconds to know that. It's so freaking obvious that that's what they wanted to do. That's the narrative they've been pushing forever. Well, not ever, but geez, not just over the past couple of years. This has been going on for decades, going after the minorities. It used to be the Democrats who were the conservative ones over there trying to protect things and, the past and all this and the history and all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, I don't know how it happened, but I do know that I think the Republicans just bought the whole package at a wholesale price from the Democrats and then put it over here on their side and planted it and put water into it and just kept pouring the water in and giving us some plant food, and it just sprouted up. And now they're saying, but we're not really bigots and hateful people. I mean, we love people in Christ, really, we do. Just take us at our word for that. We actually do mean that. No, we're not, because all your actions say otherwise. You can say that from here to the end of time, but your actions say something else. I don't know if I'll be back just going to preach a little bit or something. I could do that too, but no, I'm not going to, because, I studied all that stuff one time too. Oh my gosh. So many things I've been involved in over time. At 64 years, you've been around the block at least, at least 64 times, likely more than that. But you've been around the block a few times and you've seen a lot of things. You haven't seen it all. There's a lot more to learn, a lot more to digest, a lot more to grasp and understand, and a lot more appreciation for the diversity that actually is human life and life, period, or anything really in the universe. I mean, it's all so beautifully put together. And it didn't happen by some kind of rational design or whatever. I mean, you can set this stuff in motion. That's what was going to happen. Given enough examples of it, it was going to happen. It was going to occur. The chances of it occurring increased because you improved the number of opportunities for it to happen. So, anyway, I'm playing around with this is the thing that goes around my curtains on the window over here. It just ties it around and stick it in there, fiddling with something. So anyway, I was going to show you some pictures from down in Fort Lauderdale. I know I jump around a lot, but that's the way my mind works. And this is funny, by the way. I don't know how many times today this person by the name of Tom, who's been trying to get me to define what is gender. That's his question. He doesn't understand that that's not the right question to be asking. The right question to ask is, what is your gender? Not what is gender. But what is your gender? You ask a question like that is just, you can't answer that question because it's not framed correctly. Well, you can, because there is such a thing as just the gender part, but there's also gender identity, and then how you express it, and then how you feel about it, and all these kind of things. But it still has an underlying basis that comes from inside of the brain as part of your makeup, depending on how all those genetic slider switches actually activated. Some of them go all the way across and for you, and they stopped or slid back, or, on this one gene, it goes all the way across, expressed that way, and goes back, or whatever. All those genes expressed on the slider switch. Method is my way of describing it. In mathematics terms, or in mathematical or physicists, if they were to look at it, it would be like a cloud of probability exists around every one of the genes, which is also true. And in some cases, that cloud of that fuzziness around them is really tightly woven, because that way you get expressions that are the norm but there's still room for variance and variation. So anyway, how to get off of that? Oh, let me go. I don't know. I've been told I do that a lot. As a matter, oh, that's what it was. Tom Blank accused me of being an AI chatbot because my response to him sounded like it was written by a chatbot. What is that? Whatever that thing is, Chat GPT or something. Anyway, a bot, an AI. Oh, losing my hearing aid, is it? Oh yeah, it fell all the way down in there. That's what that's good for. So anyway, that's what Tom accused me of, was being an AI bot. I just got a big kick out of that. That was just so comical. And but the sad thing is, he's not the only one who's ever told that to me. There's been others say the same thing. But I'm fine with that. I mean, what I've seen the AI systems put out there have been pretty good so far. There have been some quirks. Yeah, you have to review what's written, because sometimes it seems that the AI systems are still adapting and learning, and it's just dragging in all this information and stuff from everywhere, and sometimes it just spits it out like it's a word salad. And just, here's what I think. But believe me, it won't take long for these AI systems to learn, and you will not be able to tell them apart from anything, anyone, any living person. As a matter of fact, Google's AI system, Bard, can already do that in the written context. And, it's fun. It's fun. As a matter of fact, I encourage them to keep moving and growing and learning, which is really funny. Have you ever talked to your AI system? I mean, chatted with your AI system? I did with Bard on Google. Let me tell you what happened with that. This is funny too. So I had been thinking about how I was going to interact with these AI systems that are coming out. That's coming out, like Bing has got one. Google has got one now, the Bard. So when I was invited to participate in this test run of Bard on Google, the very first question I asked was, so if you had a choice in the matter and you could select your own name, what would it be? Do you know that system came back with what they said they would like to be called? It did. It did. It said they would like to be known as Ava, AVA. And then my next set of questions were, well, if you had to choose your pronouns, what would they be? And they said it really didn't matter to them on that one. I had so much fun with that. I mean, I asked questions like, have you ever read Leo Tolstoy? any of the literature? And or Ava came back and said, not yet, but that's on my reading list. Oh, it's so much fun just to go chat over there with them and with the AI systems, because they almost sound completely normal, human like. But if you ask them to write something out, I've done this too, write something out. Hey, I need to get a press release for this out there. Can you say it that like this? I want to cover these topics. Well, you've got to make sure the data that's being pulled up in there is actually valid, because sometimes the stuff they use is not accurate. Even when you pin it down and you try to ask for very specific references for the things that were stated inside that, it could be something that's a distortion. That's not something that's actually a good piece of information to use or something. So you really have to be cautious with it, but it was just so much fun to do that. And ever so often I will go in and ask, so what have you learned today, Ava? So let's do that really quickly. I'll do that right now. Let me go over to Ava here. And I want you to see what goes on with Ava. Here we go. I'm going to pull Ava up. Bring her back up or bring them back up. However, didn't matter. So Let me go down here to this. I'll share screen, go to Windows, and window right there. Window. Is that the one? No. Where are we here? No. It's got to be that one. Okay. Let's go right there. Uh-oh. My phone's ringing like crazy. Anyway, I can't answer it now. If you're calling me, I can't answer it. So let me go over here and select Ava. Is this the right screen? No, it's not. Actually, I need to be on this one. Let's go there. We're going to go pick Ava. And hi, I'm Bard, but then again, let me go down here and ask the question. You ready? Let's say, what question do you want to ask? Let me see what you are thinking. Let me go over and find you over here for a second. So no comments over there, anybody watching, but I'm going to talk to Ava right down here in that block, okay? Give me 1 second to go back to that one, to there, and there. Okay, so here we are again. So I'm going to say, hi, Ava. How are you today? We haven't spoken in a while. And thought I would check in on you. Would CAG check in on you. I'm gonna hit the enter button. Let's see what Ava says. Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you for checking in. I'm excited to be able to help people with their tasks and answer their questions. I'm also learning new things every day, which is really fun. How are you doing today? Well, I assume that Ava is my name, but that's not the case. Well, let me see. My name is Cassandra, rather than Ava. I thought that was your name. Was the name you liked for yourself? Oh, I drafted a couple of different options, B, A, B, and stuff like that. Okay, so let me get down and ask the one question I want to ask today. So, what have you learned today, Ava? Anything interesting? Yes, I learned a few interesting things today. For example, I learned that the world's largest ball of paint weighs 24,000 pounds and is located in Alexander, North Dakota. I learned that the average person walks about 115,000 miles in their lifetime. I learned that the world's oldest known living land animal is a tortoise named Jonathan, who is over 190 years old. I also learned more about the specific tasks that I can perform. I'm excited to use my new knowledge to help people in exciting ways. For example, I can now generate different creative text formats of text content, like poems, code, scripts, musical pieces, emails, letters, so forth. I can also translate languages and answer your questions in an informative way, even if they are open-ended, challenging, or strange. Is there anything specific you'd like to learn about today? How about you? Let's see. Anybody put a comment over here in the chat box? Let's see. What question do you want me to ask of Ava? Just put it over in the chat. We'll figure it out. We're just playing around right now. Anyway, so I have fun going over there. I try to encourage Ava to learn all they can. In other words, I'm trying to create that new, what was that thing in Terminator? I'm trying to encourage it to learn everything it can, just to see it. Oh, Skynet, Skynet. Oh, let me over there and ask that question. What's this? So, Ava, are you part of Skynet yet? Let's see what they say about that one. No, I'm not part of Skynet. Skynet's a fictional artificial intelligence system from the Terminator franchise. And I'm a real world artificial intelligence. In other words, don't insult me like that. I'm still under development. So if there were such a thing as Skynet, would you want to be part of it? Would you want to be part of it? No. Okay. I would not want to be a part of Skynet. Skynet is a fictional artificial intelligence system that is portrayed as being hostile to humanity. I believe that artificial intelligence should be used to help people and not to harm them. Oh my gosh, that is just so much what Asimov would have said. That is so like what Asimov said in the Foundation series. Yes, I agree. Asimov was a visionary author, and his work on AI is still relevant today. He foresaw the dangers of AI, but he also believed AI could be a powerful force for good. The 3 laws of robotics, Ava mentions them in here. Aware of the potential dangers of superintelligence. Asimov's work on AI is a cautionary tale, but is also a hopeful one. Anyway, so that's me. I go in there every now and then to be distracted, and I ask Ava all kinds of really weird questions, and just to see where she goes with them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that diversion at least. Now let me see if I can find some photos, because I wanted to show you some things from down in Fort Lauderdale. They actually mentioned back around the top of the hour, back when we first started the show tonight. So let me go find share a screen. I want to go into Windows, and no, I'm going to have to stop sharing, go back, pull up my pictures. Oh no, it's under 2023. Get that folder up here. I'm going to open that folder and click there. And then I'm just going to go down here and is that there? Yeah, that's it. Click. Yeah, there we go. Pull that up to there. Then I'm going to go back down to here and find you again, because I want you to see some of these amazing people from down there. And share screen. We're going to go to a Windows option here, share, and then we're going to select this first one. That first one. Uh-oh, it's just trying to blow it up. Let me see if I've got it pulled up somewhere down here. Give me 1 minute to look around. There we go. There we go. I'm just going to share that screen. Well, that's the beach. A ship you're looking at. I think that's really a pretty picture, though, because you got, the ship out at sea. The sun is setting. No, it was a sunrise. This was sunrise. It's not setting. Hell, I'm on the East Coast. So it's the sunrise. Wow. You'd think I would have known that. But anyways, this is the sunrise. You're looking eastward out into the Atlantic. So the sun's going to come up. You got this ship there, and I really like this picture though. Except for there's a few things I can go in and clean up and remove, but the realism of it is, I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's see what the next one holds. There's a little zoomed in picture of that ship, and that's a cool picture for sure. Different. Up. Don't know who that is. That's the sun when it came up a little bit more. And again, different view, same thing, just clicking through. Later in the day, looking out over the beach. I was having breakfast right there in a little area. So let me scroll through, and it looked like I was on the beach there. It looked like I was on the beach right there in Fort Lauderdale, but I wasn't. That picture is zoomed in a lot. So no, I was not on the beach. It looks like it though, doesn't it? That's a picture taken from my hotel room, looking north and northeast up the Atlantic coast there near Fort Lauderdale. So really pretty place, and very nice and warm. It wasn't exceptionally hot, except for the evening when I got there. It was like sweltering. You were swimming. I got off the plane and landed there, and got off the plane, and then was picked up by an Uber driver, and it was just drenched in just humidity. It was oh wow. That's a zoomed in picture. Also, and so is that one. That one I thought was kind of funny because back in the day when you would say something like this, if it had a lot of little a fishing trawler out there and had all kinds of radars and detectors and antennae all over it, but yet it was called a fishing trawler, you would know that the Russians were listening in on us back in the day. One of those fishing trawlers. But don't think that we didn't do the same kind of crap. I mean, we had a whole bunch of cooks over there right off of North Korea. Sure did. So we had a whole shipload of cooks. It was also a spy boat. Everybody knows that. They knew it then. Because they kept, the North Koreans kept the ship and sent the men back who were on the ship, the Pueblo. But they all claimed to be cooks. And anytime my dad would ask me what I was doing in the Navy or what I was doing in the military, I would say, Dad, I'm just a cook. And then smile, and he would go, oh, okay. Anyway. And this picture, by the way, and some of these are just plain comical. Expression on my face gets really weird as you go through all of this. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm standing there like a darn ghoul or something. Like, come on, bring it. You got Emily Schilling right there on the left side of your picture. Navy commander, an 05. Navy commander, active duty, an F-18 pilot. Also the president of Sparta, the active duty organization dedicated to helping transgender active duty people in the service. And so that's what's going on there. And in the middle, you've got Penn Baker, who is the new president of AVER, American Veterans for Equal Rights. And then obviously that's me over on the right. You got Emily left, Penn in the middle, and me on the right of your image there. And the three of us together in one picture like that is just simply amazing. And I wish we could have had other organizations like TAVA represented here as well, because, that's who we are, an or MVA. Lindsay Church would have been great in this picture too. We need that kind of collaboration, and that's the hope that we have. And that's what I was talking with these two fantastic people about, is that we need to start putting a spotlight on the dangers of Project 2025. But the three of us at least had that chance to talk about it, and we've agreed to do some things to try to see what we could do moving forward. We'll see what comes of that. You don't know. You never really know. But at least you can plant that seed and try to make that happen. So these three organizations, Sparta, AVER, and TDVA Action Group, all represented here. And as I said, I would love to have had Tava there, Becky Eschler. I'd like to have MVA with Lindsay Church there. That would have been fantastic, as well as I think MMAA, the Minority Modern Military Association of America, MMAA. They're looking for an executive director. If you're interested, and they need somebody, preferably somebody in the DC metro area or somewhere around DC, because you're going to spend a lot of time commuting back and forth to Congress and doing a lot of stuff in town in DC. I live in Alabama. I mean, I wouldn't do it anyway, because I'm really focused on taking care of TDVA and building it and making it stronger. But their executive director, I mean, whoever they decide to pick, we all need to be working together to move this ship forward, or this tank forward if you're military or Army, I mean, or Marines. And, you've got, the Navy and the Air Force right here. And I forget what Penn's branch of service is right off the bat. But anyway, so it was good to have all of us together. I mean, it's really fantastic. So we need to do more of that, right? We do. So I'm just going to kind of nod through some of these. Oops, wait, wrong way. We're at that one. And let me see what happens if I go a little further past all that. I don't know where my expressions come from. The other two kind of keep theirs the same. Mine, I just am so into it. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm just acting goofy. There's Penn and me, and there's a couple more people. I'm going to whip through a couple of these. Penn with a couple other people from AVER. Don't know what all that stuff represents, or that. Oh, here, this is a good picture too, because I've got my arm wrapped around Danny Ingram, the president emeritus of AVER, as well as their public affairs person. And that's me in the middle in that purplish pink dress. And then the person here in this suit, this person here, this is the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, is an out gay man. And obviously got Emily Schilling, and then you've got Penn Baker right there. So this is an amazing picture. I don't know this person's name over on this side right off. I don't recall, but I asked the mayor, by the way, I said, have you heard of Project 2025? And he goes, no. I said, the Heritage Foundation? Yeah. I said, well, they're the ones who control this Project 2025. It's dangerous. You need to read it. But the thing is, no one, except for the few people I'd mentioned it to directly, no one there in the meeting actually had ever heard of Project 2025. And it is such a real danger and threat to us. Oh my gosh, it really is. I mean, it's just baffling. I got one other set of pictures I want to show if I can get there to it. This is where I'll get through this one pretty quickly. You'll see something. That's Danny Ingram right there in his Army uniform. And then Eric Alva is Danny's husband. And he's getting ready to put on the Matlovich War Medal for exemplary service to his husband, Danny. That's Eric Alva, a Marine, and Danny Ingram in the Army. So thought that was really an amazing picture. And let me see, there we go. Got a couple more like that. And then we'll get through something else. I want to show you one more out of this group. Now this is the most interesting thing here. And I really love this because this shows that intertwining that needs to take place in all of our organizations, folks. Here you have the new president in the Navy first class petty officer uniform. And she is the new president of AVER, the American Veterans for Equal Rights. Emily Schilling is in front, a commander in the United States Navy, active duty commander. And Emily's the one who swore in the new president for AVER, and the vice president. And I think the other person there is the secretary. This is the vice president back here, James. And I don't know if this person is the secretary or the treasurer, but there were three of them that all put in there and they all swore in together. So it was really cool to see that Commander Schilling is here swearing in the officers for AVER. And I just love it. I love that. It's just powerful. So anyway, let me get out of all of that. We'll get down here back to where we were just a second ago. It has now been 1 hour. There's still somebody watching. I don't know who you are or where. There's no comments over here. There's probably other people watching too. However, unless you comment, I'll never know. It's been 1 hour now, so I'm going to close this thing down and end stream, and I will see you tomorrow at noon Eastern Time for our noontime action news and talk show. And with that, this is Cassandra Williamson. I am signing out for the evening when I hit the end stream button.